The debenture holder meetings are convened to discuss the issues related to debentures such as repayment schedules. A statutory meeting is the first meeting with the shareholders held by public companies within a specific period of time after the incorporation. In the statutory meeting, you take a step forward to make your shareholders understand where are we exactly standing. EGM is convened to address urgent exceptional issues that cannot wait until the next AGM. Good morning and welcome to the second session, Unit 4, second semester BCom, Company Law and Practice, where we are going to talk about the company meetings. Now, as we move further in the types of meeting, we are also going to see what is the purpose of having a meeting. Now, there are various purposes for which a meeting is called for, and a company will explore the options and find out what exactly we need and why do we need to call for a meeting. Now, the first one, statutory meeting. The word itself says that a statutory meeting is the first meeting with the shareholders held by public companies within a specific period of time after the incorporation. So now what happens is that within that 1 year of incorporation, it is mandatory for the organization to conduct a meeting, and that's what we call it as statutory meeting. Now this meeting is essential for discussing the company's formation, financial positions, and goals of the business. It provides an opportunity for the shareholders to understand company structure and future plans. Now, what happens as you become public and you have become an extraordinary company where you have an ambitious plan to grow, you have put across your ideas, you have gathered money from the shareholders, invested it in the company's future. Now what happens? People want to know how are you going to take your business to the next step? How is the direction plan and what are all your ideologies behind setting up the goal? So a statutory meeting would put into a clarity zone trying to make the shareholders understand about the path, about the investment opportunities, how they're going to take it forward and where exactly the company is making the step forward. The next one is called the features of it. Then the features, what are we going to talk is, we're going to talk about it's going to be happen once in a company's lifetime. So only once. Now it's not going to be every year, every time. And then it provides the shareholders with statutory report of capital, assets and liabilities. So basically, we are going to discuss about the financial health. We are going to talk about the profit and loss account and as well as the book of accounts completely. Transparency during the early stages of company's operations. And this is very, very important because the transparency and the involvement of shareholder is mandatory here. Now, what happens? Most of the companies feel that once the money has come inside, it is not my responsibility to explain it to the shareholders. They need to do things by themselves. But unfortunately, that is not the truth. The truth remains that you should be ethical enough to make the people understand about your company. So that is why in the statutory meeting, you take a step forward to make your shareholders understand where are we exactly standing? What is our asset quality? What are our liabilities? How is the company going to perform? Where is the operations concentrated upon? And how are we going to deal with the situations? What is our future plans? So all these things need to be highlighted in the statutory meeting. Followed by which the annual general meeting, the most excited, the most popular, the most awaited one is the annual general meeting. Why? Because from the company's end, at the end of every financial year, it serves as a platform presenting the company's financial performance, electing directors, declaring dividends, and then we start talking about the shareholders' concerns and all other factors, which means to say that at some point of time, what is very, very interesting here to see is that all the directors, all the people would start coming forward. They would start understanding how we can take this company forward. What is the, financial performance that we have done over a period of time. Now, this is not mandatory for everyone to attend, but then they give an open opportunity where people want to know about how much dividends are being declared, what are all the concerns of the shareholders. So everything would be addressed in the annual general meeting, followed by which the features are mandatory annual events. So every year you have to do one annual general meeting. You have to discuss the financial statements, the auditor's reports. You have to tell the shareholder with the voting rights on key issues. And this is, of course, the cornerstone of corporate governance. So this becomes very, very interesting. Why? Because annual general meeting exhibits the company's excellence in terms of running the organization. Many companies have set standards in India, and I would definitely start with Tata. The Tata Sons have already stood themselves in any cases, if you take that, how they have been such a good company in terms of setting standards, in telling their shareholders how transparent and how ethical they are in terms of running the operations. So an AGM discusses that cornerstone of your corporate governance. It tells what standards we are practicing and how we are taking it forward. So this meeting is definitely important from the company meeting standpoint. Now, moving further, the extraordinary general meeting. Now, an EGM is slightly different from the AGM. Many people get confused, but nevertheless, we will now clarify it. An EGM is convened to address urgent, exceptional issues that cannot wait until the next AGM. Now, an EGM is something like an ICU kind of a situation. It's an intensive care unit. Now, you cannot make the patient wait for the next moment. Now, he needs an immediate attention. That means the company also here requires an immediate attention on a pressing issue. It might be a merger, acquisition, change in company rules, or there's a change in the managing structure altogether. So now what happens here is that I convene the meeting immediately to address the issue. I'm not going to wait for the shareholders' approval. I'm not going to wait for anybody who's going to come in and tell me how things have to be done. All I will be looking here is that this has to be resolved and it has to be done immediately. So that's why I use this word extraordinary general meeting. Now, moving further, let's talk about this. What are the features here? Now, the features here are held to discuss urgent issues outside the AGM. It requires some specific notice tailored to the issue in hand. Decisions are binding on the company. Very important here. Why? Because the company makes the decision. The company takes the final call. It's not going to tell you anymore what is right and what is wrong. Why did we take it? How did we take it? No, I'm not here to discuss the pros and cons of the issues. I'm only here to make you understand that decision has been taken and this has to be carried forward, which means I am waiting for something to be done ASAP, as soon as possible. And that's very, very important for us. So that's why I say that respond quickly to the significant events, ensuring that important decisions are made on a timely manner. So at some point of time, the time factor is the most important thing. You're not going to wait for situations to take place and happen, but rather you're going to do it and take it forward. And the class meetings, these are held for shareholders who are particular class of shares such as preference shares. These meetings address issues that are specifically affecting that class, such as change in dividend rights or some voting powers. Now, what is the importance of this? Features are that they exclusively have a particular class of shareholders. It focuses on issues of alteration, class specific, and any resolution that has been passed is going to be binding, which means to say it is specific for that class only. So whenever you do a class meeting, it's like, trying to address that particular section alone, and we're not going to make it general or too specific. We're going to make that way, saying that it's regarding to that kind of people, and if there are going to be any alterations, are they going to be addressed there. Now, let's go on to the board of directors meeting. They meet regularly to discuss and decide on company's strategic direction. These meetings are central to the company's governance and operational. So when I'm going to talk about the governance and operational standards, that means the board of directors meeting becomes a high priority. Why do we bring in this board of director meeting? Because we believe that the board of directors are primarily responsible for running the company, both from from a strategic as well as from an operational standpoint. So the board of directors will take decision on a regular basis to tell you where exactly the management issues are there, how we need to solve it, what kind of strategies and plans can be implemented at the given situation in hand, and try to take it forward. Now, for example, all of us know the macroeconomic conditions that are going on, which by the pressure for the IT companies are building on. One side, there is an AI coming up. The other side, we are not getting much of contract. So for the IT companies, now it's becoming a very big issue in hand, how to take the situation forward and how to handle it and bring up the revenue. Now, similarly, the features of board meetings are that they are regularly scheduled. It covers on monthly or quarterly basis. It covers strategic planning, the board guide to the company's operations. Everything is being discussed in terms of the development, followed by which the committee meetings involve a smaller groups within the board, such as audit committee, compensation committee, risk management committee. These meetings focus on specific areas of the company's operation and provide a detailed oversight, which means to say today, let's understand this very, very clearly. Committee meeting means there is some specific committee. Let's say women empowerment committee, disciplinary committee, gender diversity committee, or we're going to talk about quality committee, or we're going to talk about operations committee. So the committee has got a specific purpose for which they are being formed, and their ideology is to talk about it. Now, predominantly one of the most known committees is the compensation committee. These days, the compensation for the top level management has always become an area of debate. So all people have this compensation committee as a mandatory part of the organization, trying to govern upon how the payment structure is being divided, how a CEO should be paid, what kind of ESOPs and other arrangements that should be made, what kind of incentives should be provided. All these things are done at the compensation committee level meeting, followed by which the features are its specialized focus like finance, compensation, risk involves experts and directors with a specific knowledge, and recommendations are submitted for the board to the approval. Now, the most important thing of this kind of meeting is that it has specific people and a specific task. So you cannot bring everyone to talk about compensation or human resources or about operations. You have experts who have their niche competence in terms of understanding what needs to be done, and the directors are being bought in, so they come with some specific knowledge. They tell you exactly what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and then the compensation committee takes it forward from there. So this is where it becomes very, very interesting for each one of us. Followed by which the debentures holder meeting. Now, this is also very important. Why? Because the debenture holder meetings are convened to discuss the issues related to debentures, such as repayment schedules, structuring, or defaults. Sometimes the companies, it's very, very important to maintain the trust and confidence of the company. So that is also a very, very important feature. So now when you look here, we talk about the debt instruments. If the company is getting into some serious debt, how we need to recover, what are the negotiating terms and contracts, and how the company's financial structures and obligations are resolved using this particular kind of meeting. Now, the other thing is that the creditors meeting typically held during insolvency or liquidation process. Now, this is a kind of a very sober mood or a negative kind of a meeting I would like to talk upon. Why? Because when a company comes crashing down in terms of a financial problem or press, now the creditors come in between and they start asking for the money back. Now, a right example would be Gensol, where you are seeing that the company has misused the funds, because of which the company is facing a big trouble. The creditors have lost the money, and then you could also see that the shareholders are completely angry with the mismanagement of the company. So that's exactly what happens. When you see that the creditors come back to you, they start breathing on the neck, asking you for the money, and this gets onto a situation where the company has to take it at a top level priority, solve the problems, and get the company back into action. So liquidation is not going to be an easy process. It takes years for you to build a company, but it takes just minutes to destroy it. But nevertheless, the liquidation process is also quite challenging here. Followed by which we would also look into the context of insolvency and liquidation that comes into picture, asset allocation, then the proposals related to the company, and the final restructuring, which also comes into this particular thing. Now, with this, I come to the end of the meetings procedures of the company. I hope and believe that all of you would get some knowledge both in terms of theory as well as in the practical walk of life, understanding about the importance of meetings from the company law perspective. In the upcoming session, we are going to talk about liquidation of company, which is going to be very exciting. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.